welcome back to another episode of a chat with Assistant Athletic Director Josh Ingham. Really excited about this one. The last 3 episodes, we've done 3 episodes so far. We've featured a couple different student athletes in our first 2 episodes, and then our most recent episode, we did feature some of our coaches, and now we're going to transition and meet with a really special group, especially this week. As many know or may not know, it's Nurses Week. So definitely wanted to connect with some former USJ student athletes who are now nurses and on the front lines right now, really putting themselves out there and fighting and battling for us. And, before we really get into it, I just want to, just say thank you to all you guys, not only for joining me on this call today, but for, everything that you guys are doing and helping, serve our country and battling and fighting for us. Can't thank you guys enough. For anyone who might not know who's on the screen, we have former 3-sport standout in the top left corner, Annmarie Masayda, former women's tennis player in the bottom left corner, Savino, and in the bottom right corner, former women's soccer player, Shelby Tallman. Thank you guys. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy and hectic, crazy lives. It was difficult to get you all on, a little difficult at least, try to get you all on the same time. Some are working nights, some are days, some are all over the place. So, first off, just thank you. We really appreciate you taking some time. I'm going to start. Annie, you're right next to me, so I'm going to start with you. 3-sport athlete at USJ. You were on the women's soccer team, on the women's swimming and diving team, and on the women's lacrosse team. Let's just start off, tell us a little bit about your journey to USJ. How'd you get to USJ? What brought you to USJ? How did you end up landing in West Hartford?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. So I originally decided to go to USJ because of the nursing program and they have such a good reputation around hospitals around Connecticut. So I decided to go there, and an additional bonus to make my decision a little easier was because of the athletics that they did provide. So I originally thought I was going to go in, just do nursing and soccer. And then next thing you know, I kind of spoke with Coach Brenda Straker, and she kind of convinced me to do swimming. And then kind of the beauty about D3 athletics is that next thing you know, then I'm like also trying out lacrosse for the first time and ended up working out. So, it has prepared me in such a way that my nursing career probably wouldn't be the same as it is right now if it wasn't for, how USJ has shaped me and my journey has been. So it's been really good.
Yeah, not only, actually before I go to that, this is the second person we've had on one of these interviews that sounds like Brenda's pretty convincing. I think
yeah.
First interview, he was like, him and Holland about doing swimming, trying out for swimming or joining the swim team, and Brenda got in her ear. And not only was Elisa, a really good swimmer on the team right now, but you were all right back in your day too.
Back in the day, yeah. And the thing is, it's like a tough sport, so you're like going in, but then after a while, after a couple weeks of swimming and like seeing the team, like seeing Brenda as a coach, it's just like I couldn't have dreamed to do USJ without swimming. Looking back.
I'm pretty sure your name's still up on the record board there in a couple places, so I'm pretty sure it worked out just fine. Ashley, transitioned down over to you. 4-year women's tennis player. Racked up some really good accolades. 2-year captain on the women's tennis team. 3 years under our current coach, Karen Piazza. How did you end up at USJ, and what brought you to USJ, maybe other than nursing, and talk about a little bit about nursing too, and how important that role played and why you chose USJ.
Yeah, like the nursing program is what exposed me to USJ. I knew that the Connecticut hospitals highly respected it, and that was definitely important to me when I picked a school. But I loved the campus when I toured it, and I liked the D3 athletics, and Coach Stacy was the one that reached out and asked me to play. And playing tennis in college was like not something that I ever intended on doing, but having the opportunity, like looking back, I wouldn't want it any other way. Like I'm really glad I got to be involved in athletics, and it was really nice to like having it be a fall sport. You kind of come in and you already have like a little family that you can like connect with and lean on and get you through like your first year. So that was really awesome too.
No, great. And so I appreciate you're a student nursing associate, student nursing association. Well, I think probably all three of you guys were. You know, what just on that same note of the, the way the Division III landscape is, allowed you maybe at first didn't intend to play a sport, but were able to play sport, and you played 3 sports. It allows you to be involved in other things on campus. What other things on campus were you involved in during your time?
I did student government, which was also something I had no intentions of ever doing, but I just kind of fell into it. So that was really cool. You like expose yourself to a lot of different people. And I tutored at the CAE, so that was nice. My senior year, I tutored the sophomores during their first clinical class. So it was kind of cool to like teach them everything I learned like at the bedside and watch them kind of go through what I went through.
Oh, great. Shelby, 4-year soccer standout player, also a 2-year captain. All three of you guys were before in our little pre-meeting. It's funny to see that all three of you guys were 2-year captains for your respective sports, and 2 years for swimming. Ashley 2 years on tennis, and Shelby 2 years in women's soccer. Talk a little bit about what brought you to USJ. How important the nursing at USJ played in the role to get you and land you at USJ. Just what brought you to little old West Hartford.
Well, my story's kind of interesting because one of my coworkers, I worked at Wendy's like back in my hometown, and one of my coworkers had mentioned St. Joe's, and I kind of was like, no thanks, all girls school, absolutely not. And then like a year later, I was playing softball, and I played travel in high school, and I got recruited by the softball coach at USJ. And so he talked to me kind of into it, and I was kind of like, well, I wasn't really planning on playing college softball, but like, why not? So I looked into their nursing program, and I knew they were like really highly respected. And so I was like, what, might as well take a tour. As soon as I went to the campus, I loved it, and actually was planning on just playing softball. I didn't even want to play soccer because I had sprained my ankle my junior year of high school, so I wasn't really like looking into playing. I didn't really get the whole college recruit experience. So then like maybe a month before fall, I was like, maybe I will play soccer. So I reached out to the soccer coach and ended up like playing and absolutely loved it, stuck with that. And like nursing has been great. The all girls thing was like not even an issue after I moved in. Like being a fall athlete, like you said, Ashley, it was so great because we moved in early and we got to really like get friends like on board, and we were able to like really make a community before the rest of the school moved in. And then it really made nursing even easier because I already had this community, and then classes started, and it was just easy to transition right into it. But I'm glad I chose St. Joe's, and I feel like I'm pretty well prepared for this whole world-ending situation.
It's crazy times. Hopefully the world doesn't end. I don't think we're but I'm glad you bring some of those points up, and I want to ask all you guys this question. And we could stay and start with Shelby, but how do you think USJ prepared you for your role that you're in today? How well of a program does USJ have here? I know you guys all mentioned their connections to the Hartford hospitals, and then I guess the second question on top of that, or you can couple it with it, is how does playing college sports, being a college athlete, help you prepare for the roles that you guys are in today?
I think it's something that's not like really thought about, but after 4 years and now that I'm experiencing it, it's like, okay, yeah, I was pretty well prepared. I mean, I think in terms of sports, teamwork is super important. And right now, especially with this pandemic going on, like we're forced to work as a team. Last night I worked night shift and there was only a few of us on the floor. There wasn't any CNAs, so we had to go in the room as a team, like 2 of us, to turn the patient, do all the care. So I think like in terms of teamwork, that's a big thing, and communication. And I just feel like clinicals really did prepare me pretty well. I mean, I don't think anyone was really expecting this whole pandemic, and obviously the virus is new and we're learning every day. But I think like just having that mindset of being flexible, and being able to take everything as it comes, I think that's like one of the core aspects that like I learned through clinicals and through classes, just to take the situation as it comes and kind of go from there.
Great. Ashley, same question. How do you think USJ prepared you for being a nurse? And, coupled with that, how do you think, being a USJ student athlete prepared you?
So like I just really think the faculty and my coaches put the expectation and the standard out there. Like you have to bring your best self to work, to clinical, on the court, and like you have to put aside all the chaos and like any type of bad day you had before going to clinical or before your match, and you just have to do your job. And today that's just taking care of your patient and putting their safety above anything else, and just giving them a good experience during all of this.
Yeah, no, it's great. Annie, similar thing. You have anything to add? Any feedback? How the USJ prepare you for being a nurse? And what roles do you think that being a student athlete played in your preparedness?
Yeah, so I definitely, like Ashley said, is that how coaches and faculty respected that, yes, you're a student and you're here to do school first. So, coaches never had an issue with like you taking more time to do schoolwork, and then faculty never had an issue with like you having to leave early to go to a game. So, and they would always ask like, oh, how was the game? Did you win or anything like that? So I think that the support of like both sides like really helped making things easier, and like having great instructors and clinical instructors to really support you in your growth as a student nurse. And then it's in terms of how athletics prepared me to be a nurse, I would say like flexibility, and like you have like a million things going on as a nurse, but like you also had a million things going on, as a student athlete. So, it was really like nothing new, like being stressed out. And then also, I'd say another thing is like having a positive mentality, is that like, oh, you lose a game that you wanted to win, but you're able to like pick yourself up and like move forward and like think to grow in the future. And I think that's you could say the same thing about nursing, is that you're not going to have a great shift 100% of the time, but then you're able to like move forward and say like, how can I improve? Like, how can I learn? How can I be a better nurse?
Wow, that's really good insight. I think that's, really insightful on connecting those dots. Shelby, jump over to you. So you're at Middlesex. You're the elder of this alumni group, out for 2 years, graduated in 2018. At Middlesex, you're on the cardiac floor. Just give us, kind of, I guess what probably everyone wants to know is what's like a daily or a nightly shift for you? What's it like? Is it crazy? What are you dealing with? How chaotic is it? What's safety precautions? Give everyone kind of an inside scoop of what your shift and your floor looks like.
Yeah, so I worked a night shift because I picked up a shift because they've been short. So I normally work day shifts. I work 12 hours. And I work on the cardiac floor. So normally we're like an observation unit. Patients don't really stay for too long. They kind of come in to rule certain things out. But now they're having to shift some of the units over to make room for the COVID patients and kind of cohort them. So now that the COVID patients are in a certain unit, we're getting more critical patients. We have like IMCU level care patients, as well as like a lot of detoxing alcoholics and things like that, which is like a higher level of care than we're used to. So we're being trained a little bit extra. We have some extra hands on deck taking care of these patients, but it's been kind of tough having to like learn on the fly and kind of deal with these things that we're not used to. And it's definitely stressful because there's been a lot of situations where we're not really supposed to get COVID patients on our floor, but you know, if you don't know, or if you're not having the clinical symptoms that are classic for COVID, then you end up on our floor and we're kind of like, well, maybe you have it. So we have to take extra precautions. So in terms of precautions, normally everyone has to wear a mask, like a regular surgical mask, no matter what. But then for COVID patients, we're supposed to be wearing an N95 mask, a face shield, a contact gown, and gloves anytime we enter the room. They have to have their door closed. We have to wash everything when we go in and out of the rooms. So it's just very time consuming in terms of taking care of patients. And it's unfortunate because you want to spend as much time with the patient as possible and you want to do thorough assessments and keep checking on them. But in order to just go in the room, you have to suit up this whole thing. So we're kind of having to cluster.
So have you had interaction with anyone who you thought was positive or was positive or tested positive?
Yeah, so like I said, normally the cardiac floor there, we're not technically supposed to get patients who are positive, but we're all having to kind of be really flexible because we're short-staffed kind of in different places. So a lot of us are having to float to the critical care unit to help out there. And to the different COVID units. So last night I picked up a shift and I worked in like a North 2 overflow unit, which has COVID patients. So both of my patients were positive, which is kind of interesting because you're just like, every time you go in there, you make sure, you know, everything's on properly and then you clean everything super well after. And of course you want to do that every time, but it's kind of really critical in those terms of situations. But also on my floor, the floor where we're not supposed to have them, I've had, you know, a couple incidences where we didn't really know. And so I was in there with just a regular surgical mask. And then after the fact, they were like, oh, the patient has COVID. So you're kind of like, okay, well, now I have to think about, do I have any symptoms? Like make sure I check my temperature, just kind of watch out for how I'm feeling.
It's definitely crazy. Ashley, you're also at Middlesex, a 2019 graduate, so 1 year out. What's interesting, I like that all you guys are on different floors, so we're going to get some different perspective from everyone. But you're on medical oncology floor, so definitely a little different than Shelby. You know, give us a little rundown of what your day or night shift looks like, and you know, kind of the craziness that's going on in the hospital right now.
Yeah, so I'm working day shift, and for my floor, like specifically, we've just tried really hard to keep it clean. We still have some people coming in to get chemotherapy, or some people that are neutropenic from getting chemo. So we're trying our very absolute best to like screen the people coming onto our floor. At the same time, we were like combining units with our ortho unit so that any of those surgeries that were at like a high risk for infection, they would come to our floor as well. So that put a lot of our staff at the beginning like floating off the unit. So like Shelby said, like a lot of us are floating down to the critical care units to be buddies and like help the critical care nurses cluster their care and bring stuff to the door, because you can't really come in and out of the rooms as you please without the donning and doffing. So I got to experience that. I got to float to our assisted living across the street because a lot of patients there have gotten sick. So that was definitely a different environment for me to work in, but it's definitely been chaotic. You walk in every day and you don't really know like what unit you're going to be working on and what to expect, but you just kind of stay positive during it and make the best of it, and just, you know, that you get to go home at the end of the day. So
Sounds like absolute chaos. You know, I live with a nurse, and it's just chaos. Sounds like every day when it comes home and everyone is just running around. You don't know who's where, and everyone's floating to different places and getting shuffled around. So it's definitely real interesting. You know, Annie, same thing. You're on a cardiac ICU unit. And forgive me, I don't know a whole lot about all these different units, but it sounds ICU, that obviously intensive care, sounds a little intense. You're at St. Francis Hospital in Hartford, so give us a little daily rundown of the craziness that's going on over at St. Francis and your shift and your floor.
Yeah, so compared to Ashley and Shelby, I do get the short end of the stick, and our ICU is a positive unit. So, every day for the past month and a half or however long it's been, I have had positive patients. So, I mean, at first it was a little scary at first, but now it's you just kind of get used to it and, learn to adapt. And it was definitely, tough as a new grad because you're trying to learn new grad things, you're trying to learn ICU things, and then on top of that, you're trying to, learn all this COVID things. And it was scary at first because it's nobody had really any clue what was going on. You have doctors and PAs with all these years of experience, and we're all learning together for the first time, and the environment there has been very supportive in terms of everybody's learning together. We're all in this process together, but we do see a lot of sick patients, a lot of more ventilators than normally. We have to prone our patients. And on top of being short staffed is that you have to, we have more patients more than normal, but they're also sicker. So we're in a tough situation, but we do have people that float down to our unit to help out and act as runners while we're in the rooms gowned up. So make the most of it, be positive. And I mean, we have seen our census drop down, and we are starting elective surgeries again soon. So hopefully, we're moving in the right direction and we'll stay there.
You guys just seem so positive. It's really admirable. Just your spirits seem really high. It's great. We appreciate that. It's you guys are out there battling every day, and it's good to see that you guys are still positive about everything. I just want to wrap up with each of you guys. Just maybe Ashley, give any words of advice or words of wisdom to not only the current USJ nurses that we have in school right now, but also maybe some of the incoming recruits that may be looking into going into nursing. Any words to them about the program, or being maybe some of that are student athletes that you'd like to kind of give back to some of your knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, for nursing in general, definitely just believe in yourself, because you can definitely do it. And if you need help, you just have to advocate for yourself and ask for it. But for the athletes doing nursing, don't doubt that you can't do it, but definitely be honest with yourself and your faculty and your coaches. When you need to skip a practice to study, or tell your clinical instructor up front, I have a match on this day and I really need to leave after lunch. And they're really flexible with it. They're really supportive of the student athletes. And something that's really great about USJ. So just open communication, I think, is the best thing that you could do for that.
Communication is definitely key. Should be, same thing. Any words of advice? Student athletes or incoming freshmen who might be nurses, or are nurses who are currently, in taking classes right now?
Yeah, I think like Ashley said, communication is a big thing in terms of everything in life. And I think there was a lot of times doing sports and nursing, especially nursing, that I felt like I couldn't do it, or that I was, this was the wrong path for me. And I was like, I can't do this. It's so hard. But you just have to keep going, and you have to believe in yourself and just do what you have to do. And I mean, communication definitely helps, because if you are struggling, reaching out to friends or faculty or, whoever to help you is the biggest thing. But you just have to keep going, and it all works out in the end. I couldn't be happier where I am. I mean, in this pandemic, not so great, but I'm very proud to say I'm a nurse right now, because I am on the front lines and I'm helping these people, and I feel like I'm really making a difference. So but in general, I just love nursing, and I'm very glad that I stuck with a sport. I think that was very valuable. Even though it was hard, I think it was worth it.
And to save you the best for last, I guess you're, she came back and, did this past year as an assistant coach on the swimming diving team. So, any message you get to, I guess, interact with some of the kids that are still on campus now more than the other two. But, what are some of the words of advice that you give, your student athletes that you're working with, or, just a word of advice to the upcoming nurses that are at USJ right now?
Yeah, so this actually makes me think that, one thing like anybody commonly hears is that they're like, oh, I used to do these sports in high school, but, with nursing now, like I'm worried that I can't, like I'm not going to have time for sports at all. But, I've been a 3-sport athlete, and most of my, nursing career I was in season. So I think that it actually made it easier, to be busy, and you learn how to time manage, you learn how to work with other people, you learn how to communicate, and those are such valuable things to bring into the workforce. And because in the workforce you can't be like, oh, I'm a little stressed out, I can't come in today. You just like learn to deal with it, and make the most of the situation. And I'm really thankful of like the experiences at USJ and how they, shape people. And then also like I see that in my classmates as well, is that people who have been athletes like make phenomenal nurses, just from like work ethic and positive attitudes. So
You guys did it. You all did it. You graduated. You got through the bear of the program there, and for some really future endeavors. On behalf of USJ and of the USJ Athletic Department, again, can't say it enough. We thank you so much. We're so happy to call you guys ours, a product of USJ. And again, just thank you so much, and thank you so much for taking some time. Stay safe, stay well, stay healthy. Keep strapping up the boots and going in there for us and fighting. And we just really really appreciate everything that you guys do.
yeah, thanks for having us, Josh.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.